welcome. And for those who, I can't see everybody who's here, but I'm Tobin Quereau. I work with House and Grounds and have my teaching job and my counseling work and areas like that that I've done for many, many years kind of oriented me towards um, working with other people, especially when they're having difficulties or they're cross differences and divides. So I was interested in learning about braver angels uh, earlier when they were getting started. It the organization began as Better Angels, and I'm going to share a little clip that gives a quick introduction to them because they say it better than I could, and then I'll talk a little bit about my experience, some of the ways in which we can break out of our bubbles, and then just pose some queries for us to consider uh, before wrapping up with some resources that we can go to if you're interested in exploring this further. So first, I will see if I can get this to show up, and hopefully it comes through clearly to the rest of you.
Oh, Tobin, is something supposed to be happening right now? Yeah, Tobin, we're not seeing any video.
I'm sorry?
Oh, we're not seeing anything.
Ah, that's a problem. Uh, are you hearing it but not seeing it? Nothing?
Nothing.
Nope.
You're still sharing the document, so you may need to stop share that and then go to
All
your
right, let's try
browser
this
or
one
whatever you're
more
using.
time. Let me
Be
see if
sure
I
to
can.
Tobin.
What?
Be sure to check the use computer sound checkbox when you share whatever's playing your video. Okay.
All right, we'll try this one more time. If I can get there, let's see how I'm going to do this best. I'm going to, first of all, have to look at my screen here, see if I can get this. Whoops. Uh,
Are you running this in a browser?
well, I am, but I think what I'll do is I will just, since that's not coming through, I will go ahead and discuss it, and then I'll see later if I can get that and put it in there for people who want to watch it. Um, so we'll say is right now, I'm going to try to see, go back to share screen, see if I can get this to share again. Um, and then we'll work out.
No, you're sharing the same one.
Yes, right.
Oh, okay.
Um, Braver Angels began as Better Angels, which was an organization to bring folks from the right side and the left side of the spectrum together to have dialogue, discussion, interactions. And it's not designed to change people as much as it is to bring them together so they can begin to see each other as human beings, as people who have differences, but not uh, enemies. And so the issue that brought me to it is that most of us exist in communities. We exist in groups of people that we agree with, people that are uh, related, relatives of ours, and often what we do is we share ourselves more with people who think like us, who have similar ideas and who seem to support the kinds of values and things that we agree with. That's great. We all need communities of support. We need people who can support us. The problem is, if we tend to get to the point of division and partisanship and divisiveness that we are in right now nationally, then we lose track of what it is to connect with other people, to potentially see them as worthy of listening to and learning from. And that's where we kind of seem to fit right now. There's much more destructive divisiveness than there is connection and any kind of collaboration. So Braver Angels has a large number of ways in which we can break out of our kind of personal bubbles, our filters that come to us not only in our personal relationships, but in our relationships these days online. Given the pandemic, most of our lives are spent not with other people, but online with other people. And that introduces all of those various algorithms and shaping mechanisms that are hidden from us, but tend to direct us to things that we agree with, things that match our own preferences and choices. So we get built further and further into a community of people who are like us. And I will try and share this website, and to do that, what I have to do is stop sharing and then go back to try sharing this. Is that coming through as Braver Angels Central Texas?
Kind of.
What's that?
Kind of. It's very small. Oh, well, okay.
Can you see that?
It's all right, yeah. Not getting any audio.
Okay.
Did you check the checkbox?
We will stop all of that since my technical skills are limited.
Yeah, Tobin, did you check the checkbox? That's what controls whether the audio goes out or not.
The checkbox puts, and it should be.
When you go to share screen and you select the screen you're going to share,
Right.
there will be a little checkbox in there that says something like use computer audio.
Well, I will try one more time on this, see if I can get it to.
If you want to send me the URL, I can share it.
We'll try it one more time and then we'll give up on all of this fancy stuff. It says you are screen sharing. I don't see anything about.
Yeah, it has to be before you select the screen to share.
Okay.
It's not there. If you get this far, it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, so click, listen to them and click share screen.
Share screen.
Then you'll get a bunch of little things that you might be able to share. And at the bottom of that, there should be a little checkbox.
It says optimize for video clip and it says share sound.
Share sound is the one that you check.
All right. Now,
okay, and then you select the one that is your browser window.
Right.
That ought to do it.
Now, let's see.
Project
Are you hearing?
Civic renewal of
Yes.
healing relationships that exist between the American people across the cultural and political divides. The importance of this project is going to become clearer and clearer to people over the course of this election.
A lot of people are going to have to let off steam. I really believe that it's better to do it in a productive way, where they see each other as fellow human beings. It inspires me. Every Better Angels debate I take part in.
When you're there in person and you have to face the person you're talking to, we remember suddenly the rules of civil discourse and kind of how we should act in society. It's something that really distinguishes this form of conversation and debate.
It's all well and good to talk about civility and being nice to people, but the missing ingredient is courage.
In 2020, we also need courage. The courage that it takes to have a difficult conversation, to put yourself out there.
What we've been saying is that this year, it's not enough to call in our better angels. We have to call in our braver angels.
The name Braver Angels captures the evolving spirit of better angels. We have to be willing to summon the courage to see the best in the other side, to see the best in our fellow Americans.
Courage means becoming a leader in your own community who's standing up for America, not just for your political party or your tribe or folks with whom you share an identity, but standing up for something larger that we can all believe in. If we can create a large enough movement that is clamoring for a more courageous style of politics, we can change the incentives.
That's something that can only be achieved through what we call patriotic empathy, this idea that your love for your country is demonstrated in your love for your fellow American. As braver angels, we're able to lean into that with courage and boldness.
It will make you feel like we can serve this place, and our country can serve humanity in a way that is actually beautiful and actually does us justice.
This is not a left-wing movement, this is not a right-wing movement, but it is indeed an American movement. We still have it in us to be champions for what is right and what is graceful and what is decent here in the United States.
In this time of public health crisis, Braver Angels is taking its work online, hosting weekly online debates, virtual book discussions, concerts, skills training courses, and soon, one-on-one red-blue conversations. As Americans stay home to protect their fellow citizens, Braver Angels is bringing us together in new ways and helping us find the courage needed to transcend our partisan differences and overcome this challenge. Go to braverangels.org. Sign up to join our email list, and at the end of the day, try to treat each other with respect, empathy, and find the courage needed to talk to people, even if, and perhaps especially when, you don't agree with them.
All right. Now, stop the share. And what I'd like to do is go back to this original document and have you think about, in your life, when was the last time you spoke with somebody who had very different political or social values and perspectives than you? What was that experience like for you? I'm going to share all three queries right now. We'll just kind of see what comes up for people. What have you found helpful when you're speaking across divides of any kind, whether it's a member in your family or someone in your neighborhood or someone in an organization that you interact with? And finally, what would you be willing to do to expand your experience, skills, and abilities that can create healing conversations when they are feeling divisive or destructive? And when will you begin? So those three queries, I'd like to have some time for folks to explore and share as they feel led. I'll leave that up for you to consider. When you feel ready, just unmute and respond to what your experience is with these queries.
Tobin, just maybe another helpful suggestion, if you copy and paste the queries into the chat, we could then just sort of be able to see each other as well, a little bit better.
That's a great idea. Okay. Let's see. And then I have to stop sharing, I think, in order, well, let me see. No, if I can get to the chat video. Yeah, I probably have to stop that share. Okay, we'll do that. And then we'll go to chat and see if that comes in.
Perhaps this counts. I had a phone conversation on Thursday with someone who I was shocked to hear didn't plan to get a vaccination. And I'm afraid my response was, oh, but you really should. This doesn't necessarily sound like I followed plan. It was like, I'm going to wait and see, was her response.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I admit, I was surprised that any right-thinking person I knew would take that attitude.
Mm-hmm. Howard?
I've run into a couple of people who I'm very surprised because, well, people, family members and others who tend to be on the same kind of end of things as I am, who don't plan to get vaccinated. You know, there are reasons, well, we're young, you know, it doesn't matter, you know, that kind of thing. And I have tried to have my reaction, and Yellie's out of the room, she may have more to say. I have tried my reaction in the moment just to be, okay. You know, I mean, and just to see where it goes. It hasn't gone anywhere yet. Also, I'm blessed with just one family member who tends to be consistently kind of on the other side of whatever the divide is in our society, but who's also a younger person who has a great deal of love and respect for me and Gelia, and who always wants to know what we have to say and what we think. And so it really helps when you're talking to somebody like that. It really helps you to kind of enter into things in kind of a different spirit. Yeah, when family members surprise you with things like that, like the vaccination and stuff, I didn't know if you had anything to say. But.
Well, this past week we got with my brother and his son and partner, and at the end of the day, my brother told me, "Oh, they're not planning on getting their vaccine," and I was kind of stunned. I didn't even know what to say, you know, and so I think I just said nothing, you know, and then they came to visit us a few days later. Again, I said nothing, and so yeah, that's kind of where it was, you know, and that was a very yeah, I still feel like I want to just talk to him, find out what's going on and thinking. So the vaccine is a topic I think sounds like for several of us, you know, why would you pass those over like that?
And the family.
Oh, well, yeah, we had another one too. There was I got a letter about a week ago, and apparently my family has some mineral rights in East Texas. And my aunt had called me to tell me that this was coming. I would get a whopping $100-something for a sign-on bonus, and then I get a percentage of the royalties. And I thought about going to East Texas and climbing a tree and sitting in it, you know, type of thing. And the other thing I thought was like, when she told me about this, I thought, well, maybe I won't interrupt the family, you know, getting a little bit of money or something like that. I'll just donate it to the cause. And I started thinking, well, $100, you know, that's not going to do much. But maybe the person that lives over the land will, you know, would appreciate that I didn't put fracking equipment on that land. So anyway, I talked to my brother and sister who were thinking differently than me, but you know, we're really very supportive, and we had a great conversation. And then I called my aunt and I said, well, Aunt Ann, I've decided not to do this. And you would have thought I would have said the worst thing. In the end, it's, you know, I love her, and I know this was in a good heart that she was in. So I'm listening today so that I can call her back and have another conversation where maybe she could hear me, and or maybe I can hear her. You know, it sounds like this is what this is talking about, that I can hear her.
Right.
And but yeah, she has some reasons. She's like, oh, it's, you know, that last freeze, you're going to wish you had it if we get another one, you know, and that's what I've been rambling too much, so I'm off.
Well, I have to admit some ambivalence, or maybe more than ambivalence, about some of the implied assumptions that I hear from these presentations from Braver Angels. One is the sort of implied sense that we're living in our separate bubbles and they're equivalent. We're both right and left. We're deluded by the echo chamber. Frankly, I don't think that's true. I think it's a false equivalent because of the nature of the information sources that are filling up those bubbles. The second is that really bothers me, because it seems like they're not coming out and saying it, that the strategy to overcome this division is to unite around a center-right political agenda. That the more we get together, the more we'll have ideas for things that for policies that we can agree on, and so on. I don't think so. I think that we're in a real emergency time where our democracy is seriously under attack, and what we need to do is build a strong progressive movement and make sure that we win office. On the way, I am very glad to unite with humans and to try to understand. But I don't see that as the fundamental way out of our predicament. And, we're facing all these, when they try to run campaign buses off the road on I-35, and the leadership of the Republican Party supports it, and all of the elected Republican leadership condones it, we're in big trouble. And I don't know, you can see all my little synapses firing. But I don't think that's my problem, that I'm disturbed by all these things. And I just don't think it's time to put our head in the sand and spend all our time trying to convince our neighbors that somehow there's another way.
And that is an important point. And one of the things which I may not have come across as clearly in that video, because it was kind of interrupted by my incompetence, is that the goal is not to come up with a policy. It's not to pull us all to the center. It's not to compromise or have to change one's position. It's more about where is a space that we can begin to connect with, interact with, and communicate with people who have sometimes very different ideas, so that we can better understand and respond to them given our particular ideas, values, and approaches. So you're right. It would be something else other than what the Braver Angels group is aiming for, to sort of say we're trying to come to the middle and get everybody to agree and kumbaya. Other reactions to when you've had a chance to talk with, or how much do you find yourself talking with people who have particularly different divergent ideas?
Tobin, this is Chip. I'm at the meeting house with Steve, and I guess I want to respond. I spent the whole weekend with people who believe politically different than I do. In fact, I guess I'm a little ashamed to say there's a picture of me that was taken, and I'm beneath somebody's case who has a small sticker of a Confederate flag on it. And that's especially oppressive to me, that symbol. But somehow we were connected through music, and somehow having that connection that we could focus on rather than try to focus on our differences somehow feels like really important work to me right now. Feels like that's something that's so important for us to be trying to do. We find ourselves separating ourselves over anything, whether it's how we worship, whether it's how we vote, whether it's our pigmentation, whether it's where we live, we seem to find ways to separate ourselves, and we just need to try to undo that. So that's kind of my impression.
I don't know
Pardon
that.
me for, go.
Oh, no, Mary, you go.
I already have.
I have too. I went a long time. You go ahead.
Okay, I have a Facebook friend who puts up,
Oh, and we have a freeze.
I find really offensive things on Facebook.
Hmm.
And I have basically decided to ignore them. Every now and again, he'll put up something else, something that's really funny or a really beautiful scene. And I always make a point of saying, oh, I like that.
Mhm.
But the others, I've decided his job in my life is to keep me aware there are people who think this way.
Right.
I don't know anything to do with them, but ignore them when he puts it up. I always have a snappy answer, but I've never sent him one of them.
And Galia, did you have a follow-up?
It was just a thought. I was, the what would Jesus do type, statement, and what I saw, I think of two different things in that regard. I see where he sat with tax collectors and people that he didn't agree with, but who he reached out to, and these were people that were making a living and, and somehow justifying it and things like that. And so he had a reaction to these folks, and then there were the Pharisees that, that were plain old hypocritical, and so his reaction to the Pharisees was quite different. And so I think there's a place and time for different reactions sometimes to those types of things. I think for the vast majority, like my aunt and my nephew and things like that, who think differently about a variety of things, they're good people. And so I can find the goodness in them any day, every day, no matter what, if I choose to. And politically, we're going to be different, and maybe forever, maybe not forever. Who knows? But we have a wonderful relationship, and so my politics or my thoughts of morality or whatever I think is really important, I think I can say it's I love you, and when I sit down and I look at maybe some of the politicians I see and their actions and people that are out and out trying to harm people, I might get angry with them. I might have a different reaction, And those are just two different situations, and maybe one is justified in one situation and one is not in the other. So I think it's situational, and that's part of the thing about Quakerism. There's not one answer that we stamp on every situation. You know, at least that's how I've felt in my life, and so I need to judge each one and judge my own heart too when I make these judgments about people and what they do. And I need to look at what the things I do so I'm not the Pharisee. So.
What I need to learn to work on is the healing aspect. I put a lot of Facebook postings on issues aimed for getting democratic points across, and I live in a conservative town. And I am getting really strong reactions from the conservatives to my post, to the point where actually before the election, I had a report run to the police department because he said I was going to be tar and feathered on November 4th. So, and I posted something about the, against the open carry yesterday, and I'm getting a lot of negative stuff to where I think I'll stop posting. I don't know how to make the issues not so divisive or destructive. You know, that's where I'm at right now.
And that does bring up one important point, and that is the use of our social media allows people to spread their thoughts, whatever they are, to the anonymous public, and there's not that human contact, face-to-face, voice-to-voice, so people have reactions and it tends to amplify division rather than promote connection. So one of the things about this Braver Angel organization is that it's designed, although they do a lot of stuff online since the pandemic is going on, it's designed to bring human beings face to face, either on the screen or eventually back in person again, to react to each other in a structured environment that has certain guidelines that promotes the ability for people to speak their truths and to be hopefully heard in ways that that don't happen on Facebook or Twitter or other social medias nearly as well. So it is difficult to make the connection when it's at that disconnected kind of social media level.
I think that's an extremely good point. And I personally, I just don't have as much to do with Facebook as I used to because of that. And because I think it warps everything. Everything gets used in some kind of way. But the time when I had the most interaction, I think, with people who were adamantly opposed to what I was standing for was when I was doing phone canvassing. For Democratic political candidates. You get people who are very far on the other side, and they wanted to tell you all about it. And one thing, I'm trying to shine my own halo here, but it seemed like they liked to talk to me. I mean, I had people comment, "Oh, I got this guy on the phone the other day, he drove me nuts." Or, "Well, I'm sorry, I'm pestering you again." And he would say, "Oh no, you're different, you're okay."
Right.
And I don't know what it was. I think it was the willingness to listen and just a kind tone of voice in return. It really goes a long way. And that is important stuff. And despite my initial rant there, I do believe in that sort of stuff.
And the beard helps too, Terry.
They couldn't see the beard on the phone. They could not see it. Sometimes it was interesting. Sometimes they say,
"You're a beard."
Yeah. Sometimes people would say, I would say, "Would you like to do phone canvassing?" And they'd say, "Oh, I'm too old. I'm 70. Then I get to tell them that I'm 73, you know.
I saw Walter had a hand up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I spend a lot of time interacting with people that are way to the right of me. And a fair amount of time of that is on Facebook, and I you know, I have a bunch of conservative friends, and I was going to say to Irene, I'm wondering if she has her settings on public as opposed to more private settings on Facebook. Because if you have a public setting, then anybody under the sun can see what's going on. And whereas if you have a more private setting, like maybe friends of friends can see, but it's more limited. And so I don't get any, because mine is like that. I don't get any bombing from sort of outside the circle.
Walter, this isn't for my own personal page. Actually, I send them to my different my community pages. You know, people in my community. It's Lago Vista Community Board, Lago Vista Community Bulletin Board, and yesterday when I did the thing on the anti-gun thing, I got banned from Lago Vista, Jonestown, and Point Venture.
Right. You got banned for opposing whatever it is.
They
was carry.
Yeah.
So the issue of distance through the social media posting, I think, is a key, and I want to leave a few more minutes for people to respond to the queries. At the end, I would also like to just share, if I can get it to work, the Central Texas Alliance of Braver Angels is very active, along with the national group, in terms of what ways you could begin to explore connecting with somebody in that more face-to-face involvement, or in a workshop or a training, because there are lots of resources for that, or a one-to-one kind of connection that they have set up. But other thoughts about reacting to the 3 queries, and particularly to, would you be willing to expand your experience connecting with others across the divide in some way, in a gradual way? And if so, how would you do that? So any other thoughts before we come to a close?
Tobin, I
What
wanted.
the queries are again?
They're in the chat. If you've got the chat, there's 3 queries.
They're not in my chat.
Oh, okay. Did I not get them into the chat?
You did, but if people joined a little later, they might not see them. So
scroll up a little bit.
I'll go ahead and repost them there real quick.
Chip, did you have a thought?
Yeah, I did, Tobin. While you're refreshing there, one of the best leaders that I ever worked for, her name was Jan Lucas, and I actually later told her that she was one of the greatest leaders, managers that I ever worked for. And one of the things that she told me very early on is that when I go into a meeting and there's going to be some confrontation in that meeting, I'll look around the room, and for me personally, who I'm going to most likely have confrontation with, I'll sit right next to that person, and I find that the confrontation is much, much less if I sit next to the person. And I think the message of Better Angels is similar to that. If we're not, you know, for me, it's vitally important that I don't align my friendships along what happened in the voting booth. I can't do that. And unfortunately, sometimes that hurts, you know, when I see a thin blue line symbol on a friend's hat, and I'll tell them, you know, hey, I turned my Black Lives Matter pin around. Can you take that off or not show it around me? And I just think we have to reach across. If we don't, then I literally this weekend heard a conversation that I hope my moral compass is right if I see my family in danger and I pull the trigger if they're under attack. And you know, there's no fixing that. I can't fix that. That's not my role, but I don't like it, and I don't like to hear that, but I'm not going to disassociate if I've got a connection with that person. And we may have a conversation. Actually, later we did. And so I've talked enough about it, but I do feel very strongly if we're not, I feel for me, it's very important that I maintain friendships that are regardless of political opinion.
And ultimately, relationships are the channel through which change occurs. It doesn't occur when there's disconnection and division.
I've found Facebook to be a great tool for connecting. And I think, you know, it's really, really important to, you know, set the tone as the person who's the, you know, the Facebook owner or whatever. So I don't post inflammatory, one-sided commentary. I do post one-sided commentary all the time, but that is things that take a position. And you know, just by the way that I respond, pretty much managed to keep discussions, arguments within bounds of civility and kindness. And I think that Facebook gives a great opportunity to like interact with people in other areas than, you know, our politics or our religion or what it is that we're going to disagree on. And, you know, it gives you an opportunity to like a lot of stuff, you know, that's going on in other people's lives, to support other people when there's hard things going on, and to rejoice with other people when there are wonderful things going on. And so it actually gives an opportunity to meet people as much as you can virtually in a full way. To be fully present, again, as much as that's possible virtually. So I do think it's important to keep it within the circle of people that you admitted to be your friends and their friends, just so that there isn't the anonymous bombing. But other than that, I found it to be a great way of being connected.
And your point about your response is a real big key. How you respond to somebody else's response. You can send something out, and it's how you respond to them that makes tremendous difference in where it goes after that. And that's
and I think that people who disagree with me among my friends can probably feel fairly confident that they're going to get a nonviolent response from me.
Right. Exactly. So if the trust is there and the listening, that's important.
Yeah, but the problem is that you have no control in Facebook. I think it's an interesting and legitimate question. How do we speak in the public square in the age of social media? And the problem with Facebook is whatever content that you lend it is going to be manipulated for profit. And I mean, think about this. If you go very public, you're going to be reading messages from Russian bots. If you go very private, then you're building the echo chamber. There's sort of no way out of the conundrum. And I would feel much better if the Facebook ownership would commit themselves to changing or controlling those algorithms which created all the problems in the first place, and they have shown zero inclination to do so. So when they do, I'm likely to come back to Facebook because I love it.
Terry, no. Yeah?
You know,
it's like, no. You know, yes, those bots show up, and often they show up in my conservative friends' feeds, and then I have an immediate opportunity to point out that they're bots. You know, I think, yeah, I agree. Facebook really needs to clean up its act totally, but I also don't think it's futile at all to be present on the program and using it.
And I will have to intervene and say that, oh, Glenna, did you have a thought?
I have a question. I cannot imagine being in such a group as Braver Angels. I mean, I signed up to do it and then I got interrupted and didn't follow through. So I think it's a wonderful thing, but I can't imagine how you get started with that. Does somebody have a question that people respond to?
That's a great lead into what I want to share, and we're getting close to time. So if I'm going to try doing a screen share again with hopefully less disastrous results and see if I can get back to, well, it seems to have disappeared. So it's Braver, let's see if that's it. Braver Angels, no, that's not it. If you go to Braver Angels at, let me see if I can do this real quickly. Braver Angels, Central Texas, that I may be able to get there. Let's see here. Braver Angels. Well, my technical skills are limited. Okay, I'm going to go there. Then I'm going to try and share my screen. If I can still get there. Well, did I lose everybody?
Tobin, if there's a URL you want to share, you could maybe just share the
There we go.
URL in the chat. Okay.
I got it now. That if that screen is sharing, it shares some of the Central Texas, and you can learn about it there. There are numerous events. There is an event tomorrow night at 7:30, which will allow you to find out more and look at what this is about. I think find an event. There's a new subscriber meeting at tomorrow at 7:30 to 8, which you can attend and just learn more. They have national events, they have local events, they have coffee and conversations kinds of things. So there are numerous ways, trainings, workshops that you can explore as a way to begin that process. So that is where I think I'll pull it, end this one, and we will get ready for
Tobin,
yes.
I have a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Are these similar or in different ways to the Red Bench conversations that IAC does? Have you participated in those?
I think I've done one of those, and it probably has some connection to that as well.
It's a structured conversation.
Yeah, it's a structured conversation usually, but small group work and so forth. So you'll see a lot of different ones. They have workshops and just open, how are you doing kind of conversations as well. So there are lots of opportunities to begin to explore what Braver Angels has to offer. And I think at this point, we'll settle into conversations with ourselves and how we're thinking and feeling and tuning in to the spirit within.